The internet didn't slowly react to what happened last night, it erupted. One moment the online world was moving like any other chaotic news cycle, and the next moment a single clip featuring Candace Owens sent shockwaves across millions of screens. Live streams froze. Comment sections exploded. And within minutes, the name Charlie Kirk was trending everywhere at once. Because during what seemed like a routine online discussion, Candace suddenly leaned forward, lowered her voice, and said something that made the entire conversation stop cold. There are parts of this story people aren't talking about. That sentence alone was enough to ignite a wildfire of speculation. Clips of the moment spread like lightning across social media. Reaction channels went live within minutes. Fans began dissecting every word, every pause, every subtle shift in Candace's tone, as if the truth of a massive hidden story might be buried between the lines. But the real shock came seconds later. Because Candace hinted that there might be information about the situation surrounding Charlie Kirk that had never fully been discussed in public. Not accusations. Not confirmations. Just a suggestion that the public timeline might be missing something important. And that was all it took. Within hours, the internet turned into a battlefield of theories. Some people demanded answers. Others warned the conversation was spiraling too far. Influencers started reacting, journalists started asking questions, and suddenly one mystery dominated every timeline. What exactly was Candace Owens hinting at? And why did it sound like the story everyone thought they understood might only be the beginning? The moment that clip started circulating, the internet stopped scrolling and started investigating. Within minutes, timelines filled with the same frozen frame. Candace Owens leaning forward during the discussion, pausing just long enough to make viewers uncomfortable, and then delivering the line that ignited everything. There are parts of this story people aren't talking about. That sentence spread like wildfire. Clips of the moment were reposted thousands of times across social platforms. Reaction channels launched emergency live streams. Comment sections exploded with people trying to decode what Candace meant. Because whenever a statement like that appears during a public discussion about someone as prominent as Charlie Kirk, the internet immediately assumes something massive is about to surface. But the mystery deepened, because Candace didn't explain what she meant. Instead, she paused. She glanced down at something on her desk. Then she said something even more cryptic. People are focusing on the wrong timeline. Those 6 words detonated across social media like a thunderclap. Within minutes, amateur investigators online began digging through everything connected to the story. Old interviews resurfaced. Archived live streams were clipped and reposted. Even past social media posts were suddenly being examined like pieces of a puzzle. The internet became a full-blown investigation machine. Some viewers believed Candace was hinting that the public conversation surrounding Charlie Kirk had overlooked something important. Others thought she might simply be criticizing how online narratives can spiral out of control. But speculation doesn't slow down once it starts. And then a second clip surfaced. This one showed Candace responding to a comment from someone watching the discussion live. The question appeared on screen for only a second, but fans immediately froze the frame to read it. The comment asked whether there was another side to the story. Candace didn't say yes. She didn't say no. Instead, she leaned back and said something that instantly became the most replayed line of the entire broadcast. Let's just say there are people involved who have chosen to stay silent. That statement poured gasoline onto the fire. Within minutes, fans began speculating about who those people might be. Some believed Candace was referring to individuals close to Charlie Kirk, who had stayed out of the public conversation. Others believed she was simply pointing out how many voices remain unheard whenever a major story explodes online. But once the internet decides something is mysterious, it rarely lets go. Entertainment bloggers started contacting sources. Political commentators began posting reaction threads. Even journalists started asking questions about what Candace might have meant by the wrong timeline. And that's when the chaos really began. Because late that night, a short post appeared from an anonymous account claiming to have insider knowledge about the discussion. The account didn't provide proof. But it did post a sentence that sent speculation into overdrive. People think they know the sequence of events, but they don't. That line spread faster than the original clip. Suddenly the entire conversation online shifted from analyzing Candace's words to questioning the narrative people believed they understood. Was the timeline incomplete? Had something been misunderstood? Or was the internet simply building a mystery out of thin air? The debate exploded across social media. Some users accused commentators of fueling rumors without evidence. Others argued that asking questions about public conversations was completely normal. Meanwhile, Candace remained silent. She didn't post another statement. She didn't clarify her comment. And that silence only made people more curious. Because the longer she waited to explain what she meant, the more the speculation grew. Then another twist appeared. A podcast host who had been monitoring the situation revealed that they had received several direct messages from viewers claiming they noticed something unusual during the original discussion. According to those viewers, Candace briefly referenced documents before the conversation moved on. The moment happened quickly, and many viewers missed it the first time. But once people started replaying the clip again, they noticed something interesting. Candace had indeed said one sentence that many people overlooked. There are details in writing that most people haven't seen. That line instantly became the center of the entire conversation. What writing? What details? Were these official records? Private messages? Or simply public information that people had ignored? Nobody knew. But the internet had already decided the story was bigger than it first appeared. Then came the moment that pushed the chaos to another level. A well-known influencer posted a screenshot claiming to show a conversation between media insiders discussing the controversy. The screenshot couldn't be verified. But one message inside it caught everyone's attention. Everyone's arguing about the headline while ignoring the context. That sentence spread like wildfire. Because suddenly the discussion wasn't just about Candace's comment anymore. It was about whether the entire conversation online might be missing something important. Fans began revisiting the original discussion from the beginning, watching every second again to see if they missed any clues. And some viewers noticed something subtle. At one point during the conversation, Candace appeared to hesitate before answering a question about Charlie Kirk. It was only a brief pause. But in the world of internet speculation, even a 2-second pause can become a major mystery. People began asking the same question again and again. What made her hesitate? Was she choosing her words carefully? Or was she deciding how much information she wanted to share publicly? The theories kept multiplying. Then something unexpected happened that made the situation even more intense. A journalist posted a message late that evening saying they had reached out to several people involved in the broader discussion surrounding Charlie Kirk. According to the journalist, every person they contacted gave the same response. No comment. That phrase might normally calm a situation. But in this case, it had the opposite effect. Because when multiple people refuse to comment at the same time, the internet assumes there must be something worth commenting on. And suddenly the conversation exploded again. Influencers started debating Candace's statement on live streams. Commentators argued over whether she had hinted at something meaningful, or simply pointed out how narratives online can be misleading. Meanwhile, the clip of her original statement continued spreading across the internet like a viral spark that refused to die. But just when the story seemed to reach its peak, a new development appeared that made everything even more mysterious. Because shortly after midnight, Candace finally posted something online. Not a long explanation. Not a clarification. Just a short sentence. Context matters. 4 words. That was it. But those 4 words instantly reignited the entire conversation. Because now people were convinced the story surrounding Charlie Kirk had layers the public hadn't fully explored yet. And according to one media insider, who spoke anonymously to a podcast host early the next morning, the conversation Candace started might be only the beginning of a much bigger debate about what the public thinks it knows versus what actually happened behind the scenes. The 4 words, context matters, didn't calm the internet. They poured gasoline on an already raging fire. Because the moment Candace Owens posted that message, timelines exploded again. Screenshots of the tweet raced across platforms within minutes, and suddenly everyone was convinced the mystery surrounding her earlier comments about Charlie Kirk had just deepened. Reaction channels went live instantly. Influencers who hadn't even followed the story before suddenly jumped into the conversation, dissecting every syllable of Candace's statement like it was a coded message. 4 words. But those 4 words suggested something important. The story people thought they understood might be missing crucial details. And that was all the internet needed to spiral into another wave of speculation. Within hours, amateur investigators online began revisiting everything connected to the original discussion. Old live stream clips resurfaced. Archived interviews were reposted. Even offhand comments from years earlier were suddenly being examined, as if they were hidden clues in a larger puzzle. The phrase, context matters, became the center of thousands of debates. What context? What detail had been overlooked? And why did Candace sound so certain that people were missing something important? The questions multiplied by the minute. Then another twist arrived that pushed the story even further into chaos. A popular political podcast host revealed that several people had reached out privately after the viral clip started circulating. According to the host, some of those messages came from individuals claiming to be familiar with the broader conversation surrounding Charlie Kirk. None of the claims could be verified. But one message stood out above all the others. People online are arguing about headlines while ignoring the timeline. That sentence echoed across social media like a warning. Because suddenly the debate wasn't just about Candace's comments anymore. It had turned into a discussion about whether the public narrative surrounding Charlie Kirk had been oversimplified from the beginning. Some viewers argued Candace was simply reminding people that complex situations can't always be reduced to viral clips and trending hashtags. Others believed she was hinting that there were pieces of the story that had never been fully discussed in public. And that's when the internet started digging even deeper. One thread that went viral late that night analyzed the exact moment Candace paused before delivering her original statement. The thread included slow-motion screenshots, timestamps, and a detailed breakdown of her tone and body language. The author claimed that Candace seemed to hesitate before choosing her words carefully. Was that hesitation simply a natural pause during conversation? Or was she deciding how much she wanted to reveal? The thread exploded in popularity. Thousands of comments poured in as people debated what that moment might mean. Then something unexpected happened. A well-known media analyst posted a long video explaining how viral controversies often grow larger than the facts behind them. In the video, the analyst suggested that the internet sometimes builds entire narratives based on incomplete information. But the analyst also pointed out something interesting. Candace hadn't walked back her statement. She hadn't clarified what she meant. And she certainly hadn't apologized for saying the public conversation might be missing context. That silence made people even more curious. Because if her comment had been misunderstood, she could easily have clarified it. Instead, she let the speculation continue. Then came another moment that reignited the story. A screenshot began circulating online that allegedly showed a conversation between several commentators discussing the controversy behind the scenes. The authenticity of the screenshot couldn't be confirmed. But one message inside it quickly went viral. Everyone's debating the headline, but nobody's asking why the story spread the way it did. That sentence hit social media like lightning. Because it shifted the focus again. Instead of asking what Candace meant, people started asking why the story surrounding Charlie Kirk had become such a lightning rod for online debate in the first place. Some commentators argued that viral controversies often take on a life of their own once they hit the internet. Others believed Candace had deliberately stepped into the conversation to challenge how narratives form online. But the biggest twist came the following morning. A journalist posted a message saying they had contacted multiple people connected to the broader discussion. According to the journalist, each person gave the exact same response. "We're not commenting." 3 words. But those 3 words only made the mystery deeper. Because when several people refuse to comment at the same time, it tends to raise even more questions. The internet reacted instantly. Some users accused commentators of fueling speculation without evidence. Others argued that public debates about public figures are a normal part of modern media. Meanwhile, Candace remained completely silent. No new tweets. No follow-up explanations. Nothing. And that silence allowed the conversation to grow even louder. Then, late that evening, something unexpected happened again. Candace posted another message. This one was slightly longer than the first. But it raised even more questions. The truth usually looks different when you see the whole picture. The reaction was immediate. Because now people were convinced Candace wasn't just criticizing internet speculation. She was actively challenging the way the story had been framed online. Within minutes, that new message was trending. Influencers began debating whether Candace was encouraging people to question viral narratives, or simply stirring the pot further. Journalists started writing opinion pieces about the power of context in public discussions. And social media once again turned into a battlefield of competing interpretations. But just when it seemed the debate had reached its peak, another surprising detail surfaced. A podcast host revealed they had received a voice message from someone claiming to have knowledge of the situation behind the scenes. The host refused to play the recording publicly. But they did summarize one part of the message. According to the source, Candace's comments during the original discussion weren't meant to expose secrets. They were meant to challenge how quickly online conversations can spiral without full information. That explanation calmed some viewers. But not everyone. Because the mystery surrounding Candace's original statement still remained. What exactly had she meant when she said the internet was focusing on the wrong timeline? And why did it feel like there was still one final piece of the story missing? According to one media insider, who spoke anonymously to a late-night live stream host, the most interesting part of the entire situation may not be what Candace said. It may be how the internet reacted to it. The idea that the most revealing part of the entire situation might actually be the internet's reaction sent the discussion into an entirely new direction. Because suddenly people weren't just talking about what Candace Owens said during that now infamous moment. They were talking about how quickly the entire online world had exploded around it. Within hours of the original clip appearing, millions of people had formed opinions. Some were convinced Candace had hinted at something major about Charlie Kirk. Others argued she had simply pointed out that viral narratives rarely include the full story. But regardless of interpretation, one thing was undeniable: the internet had turned a short comment into a full-scale storm. Reaction videos flooded platforms. Commentary threads stretched for thousands of replies. Influencers, who had never mentioned either figure before, suddenly jumped into the debate with bold opinions and dramatic headlines. The moment had become bigger than the conversation that started it. And that's when another twist surfaced that made everything even more intense. A longtime political analyst posted a breakdown video examining how quickly the viral clip spread across the internet. According to the analyst, the first repost of the clip reached hundreds of thousands of views within an hour. By the end of the night, the clip had been reshared across multiple platforms millions of times. But the analyst pointed out something fascinating. Almost every repost used a slightly different caption. Some captions suggested Candace had exposed hidden details. Others claimed she had revealed a missing timeline. A few even suggested there were secrets about the story. The captions were wildly different from each other. Yet they all came from the same 10-second moment. That realization sent another wave of debate across social media. Because suddenly the conversation wasn't just about Candace's words anymore. It was about how narratives evolve once the internet gets involved. But the story took another dramatic turn when a popular live stream host claimed they had spoken privately with someone familiar with the original discussion where Candace made her now viral comment. The host emphasized that the source didn't accuse anyone of wrongdoing and didn't provide any secret documents. Instead, the source described the moment as something far less dramatic than the internet had imagined. According to the source, Candace had been discussing how public conversations can become distorted when people only see small clips instead of the entire discussion. The source claimed the viral moment happened because the clip removed the surrounding context of the conversation. If that explanation was true, it meant something extraordinary had happened online. A brief comment about context had transformed into a massive internet mystery. Still, the explanation didn't completely calm the chaos. Because people continued replaying the clip again and again, convinced there must be something deeper hidden inside Candace's words. And then the final moment of the entire saga arrived. Late that evening, Candace posted a longer message addressing the situation directly. Not a cryptic tweet. Not a vague sentence. A full statement. The internet immediately froze to read it. In the message, Candace explained that her original comment had been about the dangers of drawing conclusions from incomplete information. She wrote that viral clips can sometimes create narratives that grow far beyond the facts behind them. She didn't accuse anyone. She didn't reveal new information. Instead, she emphasized how quickly social media discussions can spiral once speculation replaces context. The statement didn't contain the dramatic revelation many viewers had expected. But it did provide something else. Perspective. And strangely enough, that perspective only made the original moment more fascinating. Because now the story wasn't about hidden secrets or missing timelines. It was about how the internet had taken a short comment and transformed it into a global debate. The viral clip still circulated. The reaction videos kept appearing. But the tone of the conversation slowly began to shift. Instead of asking what Candace meant, people began asking why the moment had exploded so quickly in the first place. Why had millions of viewers assumed there was a hidden story? Why did a brief statement about context trigger such intense speculation? Some commentators argued it was proof of how powerful social media narratives have become. Others believed it showed how audiences naturally search for deeper meaning whenever public figures speak carefully about controversial topics. But perhaps the most interesting realization came from the same analyst, who had tracked the viral spread of the clip earlier. In a follow-up video, the analyst explained that the original moment lasted less than 15 seconds. 15 seconds. Yet those 15 seconds had generated millions of views, thousands of posts, and days of non-stop discussion across the internet. The analyst ended the video with a simple observation. Sometimes the biggest story isn't the comment itself. It's how people react to it. And that observation seemed to capture the entire saga perfectly. What started as a short remark during a discussion had turned into a viral mystery, a social media debate, and a lesson in how quickly narratives can form online. The internet saw a pause. The internet heard a cryptic sentence. And for a few intense days, that moment became one of the most talked about clips in the entire conversation surrounding Charlie Kirk. But the final truth about the moment might be simpler than anyone expected. Sometimes a comment about context becomes a story about speculation. Sometimes a pause becomes a headline. And sometimes the most revealing part of a viral controversy isn't what was said at all. It's the reaction that follows. If you've watched this story unfold from the very first clip to the final reactions, then you already know how fast one moment can ignite the entire internet. A single comment, a short pause, and suddenly millions of people are debating what it means, replaying the footage, and trying to uncover the full picture behind the headlines. But here's the reality about viral stories like this: the conversation never truly ends. New reactions appear, new clips resurface, and sometimes the biggest insights only show up after the noise settles and people start looking at the story from a different angle. That's exactly why you don't want to miss what happens next. If you enjoy deep dives into viral moments, explosive internet debates, and the stories everyone online is talking about, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications right now. Because the next trending moment could appear at any second, and when it does,